The alien queen honors the human diplomat with a knight by her side. Outside the small window, the surface of the planet shimmered like liquid glass under the glow of its twin suns. Towering structures rose from the landscape like crystalline trees, reflecting light in every color imaginable. Elias had seen many strange worlds in his career, but nothing had prepared him for the sheer beauty of Xylar Prime. The pod landed smoothly on a wide platform, and a soft hiss indicated the doors were opening. A group of Scifi, tall insected beings with translucent wings and multifaceted eyes, stood waiting. Their movements were precise, almost like a synchronized dance, and they observed Elias with curiosity. They wore long robes decorated with glowing symbols, and each carried a staff topped with a crystal that pulsed faintly. "Welcome, Ambassador Kane," said a voice that Elias could barely comprehend. It came from a Scifi whose face was hidden behind a delicate mask. Despite the mask, Elias felt the warmth of the greeting, the respect in the tone. Somehow the words made sense even though the sounds were strange. He realized the Scifi had a way of communicating that was part speech, part thought. Elias stepped onto the platform, his suit brushing softly against the polished floor. The air smelled different here, clean, with a hint of sweet minerals and ozone. He took a deep breath and felt the weight of history pressing on him. Humans had only just begun meaningful contact with the Scifi. The fate of interstellar diplomacy might hinge on what he did next. A tall Scifi motioned for him to follow, and they moved through streets that seemed alive. Buildings twisted and arched in impossible forms, yet everything seemed to work perfectly. Bridges made of glass spanned between towers, carrying floating vehicles that hummed silently as they glided by. Strange flora clung to the surfaces, some of it moving gently as if breathing. Elias' mind raced, taking in every detail, but he kept his composure. A diplomat must always remain calm, no matter how alien the world. As they approached the palace, the scale of the Scifi civilization became even more apparent. The palace was a structure of light and shadow, a tower that seemed to reach the sky itself. The surface was smooth, reflective, and covered with symbols that shifted like liquid ink. Elias felt a tingle in his mind, a gentle push that seemed to encourage him forward. He realized the palace was not just a building, it was alive in some way. Inside, the walls glowed faintly and the floor hummed with energy. A long corridor opened before him, and Scifi attendants moved silently, ensuring everything was in order. Elias' escort explained in a careful voice that he would soon meet Queen Thalira, the ruler of the Scifi. "She is unlike any leader you have met," the Scifi said. "She sees not only with her eyes but with her mind. Approach her with respect and she will respect you." Elias nodded, though he felt a knot of nerves. Diplomacy had taught him patience, but he had never faced a being so unlike any human. He straightened his posture and followed his guide into the grand hall. The hall was vast, stretching so far that Elias could barely see the far end. The ceiling shimmered like a night sky filled with stars, though it was solid above his head. Strange lights drifted in the air, casting shifting patterns on the floor. The Scifi gathered in silent rows, their attention focused entirely on the center. There she was. Queen Thalira stood on a raised platform, her form regal and graceful. She was taller than most Scifi, her wings folded neatly behind her. Her eyes were large and deep, reflecting every color of the hall. There was an intelligence in her gaze that seemed to look through Elias, yet not in a threatening way. It was as if she were trying to understand him, to see the essence of who he was. Elias stepped forward, keeping his hands visible and his movements measured. The traditions of the Scifi were clear. No sudden gestures, no loud speech, no unnecessary movement. He bowed slightly, not in fear but in respect, and spoke in the common interstellar language. "Your Majesty, it is an honor to be here," he said. Queen Thalira tilted her head slightly and her wings fluttered softly. She responded in a tone that resonated not only in the ears but in the mind. "Ambassador Kane, your people are curious, strong, and resilient. We welcome you. Your presence here signals a hope for understanding between our worlds." A ripple of approval passed through the hall. Elias felt it more than saw it, a subtle vibration of energy that communicated collective approval. He knew that the Queen's words carried weight beyond any speech he had encountered on Earth. This was a civilization that valued not only intellect but perception, empathy, and subtlety. He followed her gaze as she led him through the hall. Each step seemed deliberate, each motion conveying meaning. They passed massive sculptures that twisted and turned in impossible ways, reflecting light like living prisms. Elias realized that art and science were intertwined here in ways humans had only begun to imagine. The queen stopped before a set of towering doors. "Behind these doors is the Chamber of Understanding," she explained. "Here you will learn our ways, see what our people have achieved, and share your thoughts freely. You may find it different from your expectations." Elias nodded, feeling a mix of excitement and apprehension. He had trained for this moment for years, yet nothing could have fully prepared him. The doors opened, revealing a room filled with glowing panels, floating displays, and objects that seemed to defy gravity. Plants floated in midair, responding to his movement with gentle shifts of color. The walls displayed images not with screens but through waves of light, telling stories without words. "This is the heart of our knowledge," the queen said. "Here we share ideas, not just with words but with thought. You will see, understand, and perhaps contribute." Elias approached a floating display, touching it cautiously. Instantly, information flooded his mind. Diagrams of Scifi technology, histories of their civilization, philosophies, and records of every major event in their history. The sensation was overwhelming, yet not painful. He realized that the Scifi had learned to transmit knowledge directly, but only in a controlled manner that respected the recipient's mind. He looked up at the queen. This is incredible. Your people have achieved so much, yet I sense humility in all of it." Thalira's eyes glowed faintly, a sign of approval. "We are cautious. Knowledge without understanding can destroy even as it creates. Humans, I see, also value learning, but differently. Your adaptability and creativity intrigue me." Elias smiled. "Adaptability has kept humans alive, even when the odds were against us. Perhaps it can build bridges between our species as well." The queen's wings shivered softly, a gesture Elias had come to interpret as curiosity and respect. "Perhaps it can," she replied. For the next hours, he was guided through the palace, seeing gardens with flowers that hummed in harmony, libraries where knowledge floated in bubbles of light, and laboratories where science and art merged seamlessly. Every experience was designed to teach, to show, and to test his understanding without using force or threat. As the day ended, the queen led him to a balcony overlooking the city. Xylar Prime stretched endlessly, towers reflecting sunlight, streets glowing softly, and vehicles moving in silent patterns. Elias felt a profound sense of awe and responsibility. "This city, these people, they are unlike any humans have known," he said. Queen Thalira's gaze met his. "And yet, Ambassador Kane, I sense that humans have a place here, perhaps more than you realize." Elias felt a flicker of hope and determination. He had arrived as a diplomat, a representative of his species, but he realized that he was also a bridge, a living proof that humans could rise to meet challenges far beyond their world. As night fell over Xylar Prime, the lights of the city shimmered like a sea of stars. Elias knew this was only the beginning of a journey that would test his mind, his character, and his ability to understand a civilization unlike any other. But for the first time in his life, he felt the thrill of discovery and the quiet certainty that humans could not only survive among the stars, they could be respected, admired, and trusted. And in the distance, Queen Thalira's form stood tall against the glowing cityscape, a silent promise that this encounter might change the fate of both their worlds forever. The next morning, Ambassador Elias Kane awoke in a room unlike any he had ever seen. It was not a bedroom in the way humans understood, but a chamber filled with soft light that shifted like liquid. The walls hummed faintly, vibrating in rhythm with some invisible current of energy. Strange plants lined the edges, and their leaves shimmered as if alive with consciousness. Elias felt an almost magnetic pull toward the windows, where the twin suns rose over Xylar Prime, casting long streaks of color across the city. A soft tone indicated someone was entering. Elias turned to see Queen Thalira's aide, a graceful Scifi with eyes like liquid silver bowing slightly. "Your preparations await, Ambassador Kane." "The Queen wishes to begin discussions today," the aide said, her voice melodic, yet it carried a subtle weight that demanded attention. Elias straightened his uniform and nodded. "I am ready." As he followed the aide through the palace, he noticed that the streets below were alive with activity. Scifi citizens moved with precision, their interactions fluid and almost musical. Marketplaces glowed softly, filled with items that seemed to defy gravity, floating just above the stalls. Elias marveled at the ingenuity of a civilization that could combine technology, art, and nature in such harmony. The council chamber awaited him, a circular room at the heart of the palace. It was vast, yet intimate, its walls transparent but layered with energy fields that shifted, allowing private conversations without obstruction. The Scifi Council members were already present, their wings folded neatly, eyes reflecting light in subtle patterns. Elias realized he was not just facing the queen. He was addressing the core of a civilization that valued intelligence above all else. Queen Thalira entered, her presence commanding but calm. Her wings extended slightly, a gesture of openness, and Elias felt the room respond to her energy. "Ambassador Kane," she said, her voice resonating both in the ears and the mind, "we have much to discuss. We wish to understand humans as we understand ourselves, and to explore what a partnership might bring." Elias nodded. "Your Majesty, humans value cooperation and knowledge. We hope to learn from your people as much as you may learn from ours." The council began the discussions with careful deliberation. The topics ranged from trade and technology to environmental practices and interstellar navigation. The Scifi were meticulous, asking questions that required both intellect and ethical reasoning. Elias answered thoughtfully, often drawing on human history and examples that illustrated creativity and adaptability. During one exchange, a council member asked, "Humans have survived harsh conditions on Earth. How do you decide which challenges to face directly and which to avoid?" Elias paused, considering his words. "We rely on adaptability, teamwork, and learning from mistakes. Survival is not just about strength, it's about intelligence, cooperation, and understanding the environment. Sometimes the greatest power is knowing when to act and when to wait." The council murmured among themselves, impressed by his response. Queen Thalira's eyes glimmered with approval. She spoke softly. "Humans, though young among the stars, possess qualities we value: resilience, creativity, and a moral compass that guides action. These are rare among civilizations." After hours of discussions, Thalira gestured for a break. Elias followed her through a hallway that glowed softly with bioluminescent patterns. "You have answered well today, Ambassador," she said, "but understanding our people requires more than words. You must see, touch, and feel our world in ways that are difficult to describe." She led him to a section of the palace few humans had ever seen, the Garden of Reflection. Here, plants moved with the rhythm of thought, responding to emotion and intention. Elias reached out to a flower that glowed faintly and felt a ripple of warmth flow through his hand. The sensation was not just physical, it carried meaning, a quiet communication that transcended language. Queen Thalira watched him closely. The Scifi communicate with thought as well as sound. Every action, every touch conveys understanding. Humans often rely on speech alone. Here, you will learn to expand perception. Elias practiced carefully, allowing his mind to focus on intention rather than words. Slowly, he began to sense the subtle flows of energy, the unspoken emotions of the plants, and even the moods of the Scifi attendants nearby. A quiet thrill ran through him. He was learning a new language, not of words, but of perception. Later, they visited the Hall of Innovation, where Scifi science and artistry merged seamlessly. Devices floated in midair, controlled by thought patterns, while intricate machines created energy from forms of matter humans had not yet discovered. Elias was fascinated by a machine that could reshape materials atom by atom, constructing objects with incredible precision. He asked, "Your technology, it is unlike anything humans have achieved. How did your people develop it?" Thalira's eyes glimmered. "Through patience, observation, and the constant pursuit of understanding. We do not rush. We learn from the environment, from history, and from each other. Technology is an extension of thought, not a replacement." Elias nodded. He realized that humans, too, had survived and thrived not just because of technology, but because of creativity, empathy, and moral choices. He explained examples from human history where innovation and empathy had combined to overcome impossible odds. The Queen listened intently, showing visible interest. As the day continued, Elias and Thalira walked through the Library of Light, a place where knowledge floated in glowing spheres. Each sphere contained the history, philosophy, and art of the Scifi. Elias touched a sphere and felt the experiences of a Scifi scholar flow through him, years of study, the joy of discovery, the disappointment of failure. The sensation was overwhelming yet enlightening. "You see," Thalira said, "knowledge without understanding is empty." A civilization's strength lies not just in what it knows, but in what it comprehends and how it applies that knowledge. You, human, show promise in this regard. Your people may have much to offer the stars. Elias felt both pride and responsibility. This was no mere diplomatic mission. He was a representative of all humanity, showing not just survival skills, but the best of human thought and morality. In the evening, Thalira invited him to a quiet observatory high above the city. The twin suns had set, and the night sky of Xylar Prime shimmered with distant stars and glowing structures. Elias gazed out, amazed by the beauty and complexity of a world so unlike Earth. "This night," Thalira said softly, "is a gift. Few outsiders are allowed such access. I wish you to understand our civilization, not only as a diplomat, but as an observer of our culture and values. Trust, respect, and empathy are as important as intellect here." Elias felt the weight of her words. He understood that this honor was rare, that the Queen was giving him a glimpse into a world few humans would ever see. He also realized that the trust placed in him was immense. A single mistake could undo progress and sour relations forever. They spoke for hours, sharing insights about their worlds. Elias described human achievements, mistakes, and hopes for the future. Thalira shared stories of Scifi history, civilizations that had risen and fallen, lessons learned, and the constant search for balance between power and wisdom. As dawn approached, Thalira stood and extended her hand, a gesture Elias had come to recognize as a sign of trust and respect. "Ambassador Kane, you have impressed us not merely with your intellect, but with your character. This is rare. Humans may yet prove themselves worthy of a place among the respected civilizations of the galaxy." Elias bowed, slightly humbled. "Your Majesty, I will do my utmost to honor this trust. Humans have much to learn, but we also have much to offer. I hope our people can meet the expectations of your civilization." Thalira's eyes glimmered like polished crystal. "Perhaps, Ambassador, perhaps indeed." As Elias left the observatory, he felt a mix of awe and determination. He had seen wonders beyond imagination, and had begun to understand a civilization far advanced and deeply wise. Yet he also understood that his mission was only beginning. The coming days would test not just his knowledge and diplomacy, but his ability to understand and connect with beings who thought and felt differently. He returned to his chamber, gazing once more at the rising twin suns. The city below shimmered like a living organism, alive with thought, energy, and intention. Elias felt a spark of excitement. He had arrived as a diplomat, but he now understood he was also a bridge not only between two worlds, but between two very different ways of seeing life. And somewhere deep within the palace, Queen Thalira watched, curious and contemplative. She had seen promise in the human ambassador, a potential that could change the course of history. For the first time in centuries, she considered the possibility that humans might not only survive in the stars, they might rise to stand among the galaxy's most remarkable civilizations. Ambassador Elias Kane awoke to the soft hum of the palace's energy fields. The light in his chamber had a gentle golden glow, shifting slowly like a living flame. Today felt different. There was a sense of anticipation in the air, a rhythm that seemed to signal something important was about to occur. He dressed carefully in his formal diplomatic attire, feeling the weight of responsibility settle on his shoulders. Though he had been preparing for this mission for months, the reality of standing among the Scifi and being honored by their queen was both exhilarating and daunting. A soft tone indicated someone's arrival. Aide Liara, one of Queen Thalira's most trusted attendants, entered. Her movements were precise, each step measured and deliberate, as if in harmony with an invisible rhythm. "Ambassador Kane," she said, her melodic voice carrying subtle warmth, "the Queen requests your presence in the ceremonial hall. You have been recognized for your insight, wisdom, and respect for our ways. Today, she wishes to honor you." Elias' heart quickened. Honors of any kind were rare in the Scifi court, and this one promised to be extraordinary. He followed Liara through the palace corridors, noting the familiar yet always awe-inspiring sights. The walls glowed softly, the floors hummed faintly, and plants moved in gentle waves as if acknowledging his presence. Upon entering the ceremonial hall, Elias was struck by its grandeur. The hall was circular, enormous, with a ceiling that seemed to open into the stars themselves. Light shifted and danced across the walls, reflecting off the crystalline sculptures that spiraled toward the ceiling. Scifi citizens were gathered along the edges, silent and observing. The energy of the room was vibrant, almost tangible, as though the hall itself were alive. At the center of the hall, Queen Thalira stood upon a raised platform. Her wings were folded gracefully behind her, and her posture radiated both authority and calm. The room seemed to resonate with her presence. When she noticed Elias, she extended a subtle gesture. Her hand lifted slightly, a movement that conveyed welcome, trust, and respect. "Ambassador Kane," she said, her voice carrying through both mind and ears. "Your understanding of our people and your dedication to peace have been observed. Few outsiders earn the right to stand in our halls, and fewer still receive the honor I now offer. Tonight you shall share the company of the Queen, not as a visitor but as a witness to our ways." Elias' chest tightened. He had expected ceremonial recognition, perhaps speeches or symbolic gifts, but this was unprecedented. The honor was not merely symbolic, it was deeply personal, a signal of trust and inclusion into the heart of Scifi society. He bowed respectfully. "Your Majesty, I am humbled. I will honor this trust with every action and thought. I hope to learn and understand your people as fully as possible." Thalira inclined her head, a faint glow radiating from her eyes. "Then come, Ambassador, your journey of understanding continues." She led him through a side corridor, away from the observing crowd, into areas of the palace that few humans had ever seen. The walls shifted softly, showing scenes of Scifi history, wars endured, discoveries made, and generations of leaders guiding their people. Elias felt the weight of that history press upon him. This civilization had survived for thousands of years, not through brute force, but through intelligence, cooperation, and respect for life itself. They entered a chamber unlike any Elias had seen before, the chamber of light and thought. The space was circular, with a soft floor that seemed to adjust beneath his feet. Light flowed from the ceiling in slow, undulating patterns, casting colors that changed as his mind shifted focus. Floating crystals hovered in the air, pulsing faintly with energy. "This chamber," Thalira explained, "is where knowledge, memory, and understanding converge. Tonight you will witness rituals, customs, and practices that are sacred. Your presence is a symbol of respect between our species." Elias took a deep breath, feeling a mixture of nervousness and excitement. He knew that what he was about to experience would challenge everything he understood about communication, culture, and connection. The Queen guided him to a raised platform at the center. "Sit," she said softly. "Relax, observe, let your mind open to what is beyond words." Elias obeyed, settling onto the platform. The Queen began a slow series of movements, her wings fluttering gently. She emitted low, melodic tones, and Elias felt them resonate not only in his ears but deep within his consciousness. Colors shifted around the chamber, and he felt a subtle vibration in the floor and air. It was as if the room itself was responding to her presence. Then came a moment of stillness. The Queen's gaze met his. Elias sensed not just observation, but understanding. She was not merely seeing him, she was perceiving his thoughts, intentions, and the essence of his being. It was both intimidating and humbling. "Ambassador Kane," she said, "humanity has shown resilience, creativity, and moral insight. These qualities are rare in the galaxy. You have demonstrated them here among my people, and they are worthy of honor." Elias felt a surge of pride and responsibility. He realized that this night was not merely ceremonial. It was a test of character, perception, and empathy. He had been given the chance to represent all humans, to show that they were capable not just of survival, but of understanding and collaboration on a galactic scale. For hours, Thalira guided him through the chamber, revealing Scifi customs, histories, and ways of thought that were nearly impossible for humans to grasp fully. They moved through gardens where plants responded to emotion, libraries where knowledge floated in glowing spheres, and chambers where sound, light, and thought merged into expressions of culture and history. Elias interacted carefully, asking questions and observing closely. Each interaction required focus, patience, and empathy. Even the smallest misstep could have been misinterpreted, but he navigated the experiences with care. The queen watched him closely, her eyes reflecting approval at his understanding and sensitivity. At one point, he was led to a pool of clear, shimmering liquid. As he peered into it, the water reflected not his own image, but the memories of Scifi ancestors, leaders, scientists, artists, and warriors. Elias felt a connection to a civilization that spanned millennia, understanding the weight of their experiences and the wisdom they carried. "This is our history," Thalira explained. "Not just events, but the lessons we carry forward. You see it because you seek to understand, not to dominate. This is the difference between a visitor and a trusted ally." Elias nodded, feeling the responsibility keenly. Humans had much to offer the galaxy, but they must approach it with humility, respect, and curiosity. He realized that this honor, the chance to spend the night at the Queen's side, was more than a reward. It was a bridge between species, a chance to build understanding that could shape the future. Later, they moved to a quiet chamber filled with soft light and gentle sound. Here, Elias was shown Scifi meditative practices, designed to align thought, emotion, and perception. He attempted to mimic them, feeling the subtle flows of energy within the room and within himself. The exercise was both calming and enlightening, revealing new ways of thinking and sensing the world. "Your mind adapts quickly," Thalira observed. "Humans are limited in some ways, yet your creativity and adaptability allow you to perceive what others might miss. This is why your presence here is significant." Elias felt a deep sense of humility. He was not a conqueror or a ruler. He was a representative, a learner, and a bridge. The honor he had been given was not about privilege, it was about responsibility. The trust placed in him was immense, and he understood that his actions in the coming days could influence the relationship between humans and Scifi for generations. As the night deepened, the Queen guided him back to the platform at the chamber's center. She extended her wings slightly, a gesture Elias had learned was one of openness and respect. "Ambassador Kane," she said softly, "you have shown insight, patience, and understanding. These qualities are rare and precious. Humans may yet play a vital role in the galaxy's future. Remember this night, not for honor, but for what it teaches about connection, trust, and the responsibilities of knowledge." Elias bowed, overwhelmed by the depth of the experience. "Your Majesty, I will remember. I will carry these lessons and strive to represent humanity with integrity, respect, and wisdom." The Queen inclined her head, and the chamber's lights shifted gently, signaling the conclusion of the ceremony. Elias felt a mixture of awe, gratitude, and determination. He had been honored, yes, but more importantly, he had been entrusted with understanding, knowledge, and the responsibility to act wisely. As dawn approached on Xylar Prime, the chamber glowed softly, reflecting the light of the twin suns on the horizon. Elias left the Queen's side, carrying with him the experience of a civilization that valued intellect, empathy, and trust above all else. He understood that the journey ahead would be challenging, but it was also filled with possibility. Humans had been given a chance to prove themselves among the stars, and he was determined to honor it. And somewhere deep within the palace, Queen Thalira watched, her mind curious and reflective. She had offered a rare gift to the human ambassador, a night of trust, learning, and connection. What Elias would do with this honor could shape the future of humanity and its place among the galaxy's civilizations. For now, all she could do was observe and wait to see if humans were ready to rise to the challenge. The morning light of Xylar Prime filtered gently into Ambassador Elias Kane's chamber. Despite the beauty of the palace, Elias felt a sense of tension. The night with Queen Thalira had been extraordinary, but he knew it was only the beginning. Today, he would face challenges that would test his mind, his patience, and his ability to truly understand the Scifi people. Liara, the Queen's aide, appeared without sound, her presence almost floating into the room. "Ambassador Kane," she said, her voice soft but firm, "the Queen has arranged for you to participate in the trials of understanding. These exercises will test perception, empathy, and insight. Success will deepen the trust between you and the Queen, and by extension between our peoples." Elias nodded, swallowing a mix of excitement and apprehension. He had prepared for negotiations and formal diplomacy, but this was entirely different. It was not about words or logic alone. It was about perception, understanding, and the subtle ways a civilization communicated with thought, emotion, and action. Liara led him through a hallway lined with shimmering panels, each displaying moving symbols, shifting colors, and images that seemed to float in midair. The corridor opened into a wide chamber, its ceiling high and dotted with glowing crystals. At the center of the room was a platform that radiated a soft golden light. Queen Thalira awaited him there, her wings folded gracefully. She did not speak at first. Instead, she extended a hand, signaling him forward. "Ambassador Kane," she said finally, her tone calm yet powerful, "the first trial begins now. You must perceive the flow of energy in this chamber and respond appropriately. Observation alone is not enough. You must interact, understand, and harmonize." Elias stepped onto the platform, focusing intently. At first, he sensed only confusion, a jumble of light, vibrations, and shifting colors. Slowly, he began to notice patterns, the crystals pulsing in sequence, the colors responding to small movements, the subtle changes in the air around him. Each element seemed to convey meaning, a silent communication that required both attention and interpretation. He moved carefully, adjusting his stance, his gaze, and even his breathing in response to the chamber's flow. A soft warmth traveled through his mind, signaling recognition from the queen. He realized that the trial was not merely a puzzle, it was a test of his ability to perceive, adapt, and respond with empathy. After several minutes, the first trial concluded. The chamber quieted, and Thalira spoke. "You have observed well, Ambassador. But observation alone is not sufficient. Understanding requires insight into intention, context, and the perspectives of others. The next trial will challenge these qualities." Elias followed her to a new section of the palace, where the Garden of Echoes awaited. Here, plants moved and shifted in response to thought and emotion. Some of the larger trees bent gently toward visitors, their leaves shimmering with colors that reflected moods and intentions. "You will interact with these plants," Thalira explained. "They respond to honesty, clarity, and empathy. Attempt deception, hesitation, or confusion, and the plants will react accordingly. This trial will reveal your ability to perceive and communicate truth beyond words." Elias approached a flowering vine whose petals glowed softly. He focused on his intention, to understand and connect. As he reached out, the vine shimmered brighter, its tendrils moving toward him. He spoke softly, describing his purpose and intentions, not aloud but with thought and sincerity. Slowly, the vine responded, wrapping gently around his wrist in a gesture of trust. The queen observed closely. "You are learning, Ambassador. Humans are quick to adapt when they focus on sincerity and understanding. This is a rare quality." The next trial was even more complex. In the Hall of Reflections, Elias encountered illusions of Scifi citizens expressing different emotions: fear, curiosity, joy, anger. He had to interpret their intentions and respond appropriately to each scenario. One misstep could signal misunderstanding or disrespect, jeopardizing the fragile trust he was building. Elias moved carefully, observing subtle changes in color, sound, and energy. He relied on both logic and intuition, trying to understand what each being required in the moment. Slowly, he learned to anticipate reactions, respond with empathy, and harmonize with the emotions displayed. After several hours of intense focus, the queen called him to her side. "Ambassador Kane," she said, "you have demonstrated patience, insight, and adaptability. These qualities are vital for any being seeking to cooperate with my people. Yet there is one final trial, a test of moral courage." Elias' heart quickened. He had expected physical challenges, puzzles, or mental exercises, but moral courage was something deeper. It would test his character, values, and the decisions he would make under pressure. He was led to the chamber of choice, a serene space with soft pools of light and reflective surfaces. Within the room, simulations unfolded, scenarios of conflict, scarcity, and ethical dilemmas. Each presented a decision that could benefit one group at the expense of another. Elias had to choose wisely, balancing human values with respect for Scifi culture. In the first scenario, a neighboring colony was in danger of environmental collapse. Resources were limited, and the simulation required him to decide whether to prioritize Scifi technology to save their citizens or to assist the human colonies as well. Elias carefully weighed the options, considering both immediate needs and long-term consequences. He chose a solution that shared resources, coordinating support for both groups. The simulation adjusted, presenting a new scenario where trust was tested. A Scifi council member had doubts about human intentions and had placed subtle obstacles in diplomatic communication. Elias had to navigate these carefully, showing transparency, honesty, and patience. By acknowledging the council members' concerns and offering clear, reasonable solutions, he gained their trust without causing conflict. Finally, the simulation presented a personal challenge. Elias was asked to make a choice that could benefit him materially or politically, but would harm the trust between humans and Scifi. He hesitated, understanding the weight of the decision. Then he acted according to principle, prioritizing trust and integrity over personal gain. The simulation ended, and the chamber glowed warmly, signaling recognition of his choice. Queen Thalira stepped forward, her expression calm but proud. "Ambassador Kane," she said, "you have passed the trials not by force, but through insight, empathy, and moral courage. Humans possess qualities that are rare even among advanced civilizations: creativity, adaptability, and the ability to act with principle. These are the qualities we value above all." Elias bowed, humbled by her words. "Your Majesty, I am honored. I have learned more than I could have imagined. The lessons of your people are profound, and I will carry them back to humanity with care and respect." Thalira extended a hand, a gesture of approval and trust. "The trials were never meant to challenge your strength or intelligence alone. They were designed to reveal character, understanding, and empathy. You have demonstrated all three. I trust you, Ambassador, and through you, I begin to trust humans as well." The weight of her words settled on Elias. He understood that humans had long been seen as young, inexperienced, and unpredictable. Yet here, in the heart of the Scifi civilization, he had shown that humanity could rise above limitations. He could inspire respect not through force or technology, but through thought, principle, and understanding. After the trials, Elias was guided to a balcony overlooking Xylar Prime. The city below shimmered in the evening light, towers glowing softly and floating vehicles moving in silent harmony. He realized that this planet, this civilization, had survived not just because of intelligence or technology, but because of values, empathy, and cooperation. Queen Thalira stood beside him. "Look upon your people," she said, her tone thoughtful. "Humans have potential, yet much remains to be proven. But I see in you a reflection of what humans could achieve. If your species embraces insight, integrity, and cooperation, there is no limit to what you can accomplish." Elias felt a surge of determination. He had come to Xylar Prime as a diplomat, but he realized he had also become a student of a civilization far beyond human experience. The trials had tested him in ways he could not have imagined, yet they had also taught him the power of empathy, patience, and moral courage. As night fell over the city, the twin moons rising in the sky, Elias knew that the coming days would continue to challenge him. The trust he had earned from Queen Thalira and the Scifi Council was precious and fragile. He would need to continue demonstrating humanity's worth, not through weapons or wealth, but through thought, integrity, and the courage to understand and act wisely. And somewhere deep within the palace, Queen Thalira observed him quietly. She had witnessed a human rise to meet challenges unlike any other species had faced. She felt a cautious optimism, a rare emotion for a ruler whose experience spanned millennia. Perhaps, she thought, humans were ready to become true partners among the stars. Elias Kane returned to his chamber that night, exhausted but exhilarated. The trials had tested him mentally, emotionally, and morally, but he had emerged stronger, wiser, and more aware of what it meant to represent humanity. He understood now that the honor he had received from the Queen was not merely ceremonial. It was a challenge, a responsibility, and an opportunity. And as he gazed out over Xylar Prime, the city alive with thought, energy, and purpose, he felt a quiet certainty. Humans could rise to meet the stars, not only surviving but earning respect, trust, and a place among the galaxy's most remarkable civilizations. The final day of Ambassador Elias Kane's mission on Xylar Prime dawned with a quiet brilliance. The twin suns rose in harmony, casting golden and violet light across the crystalline city. For the first time, Elias felt a sense of completion and purpose. The trials had tested him. The nights with Queen Thalira had shown him wonders beyond imagination. Now it was time to solidify the trust he had earned, not just as a representative of humanity, but as a bridge between two worlds. Liara appeared quietly at his chamber door. Ambassador Kane, she said softly, the Queen awaits your presence in the Hall of Accord. Today, your actions will help define the relationship between our peoples. Elias nodded, straightening his uniform. He had rehearsed the ceremonies in his mind, yet he knew this moment demanded not only preparation, but genuine understanding. He followed Lyra through the palace corridors, passing halls and chambers he had come to know intimately, gardens that shimmered in response to thought, libraries that glowed with floating knowledge, and galleries where art and science intertwined. The Hall of Accord was even more magnificent than the ceremonial hall. Its ceiling reflected the heavens, with stars that seemed to move in synchronization with the twin suns outside. Crystalline pillars lined the walls, each etched with patterns representing millennia of Sci-fi history. The energy in the room vibrated softly, resonating with a sense of anticipation. Queen Thalira stood at the center, her wings partially extended in a display of respect and welcome. Around her, the Sci-fi Council members gathered, their eyes reflecting both curiosity and approval. Elias could feel the weight of expectation. This was more than a ceremony. It was a defining moment for interstellar diplomacy. Ambassador Kane, the Queen began, her voice both gentle and commanding, you have spent nights in our halls, undergone trials of understanding, and observed our culture as few outsiders ever have. Today, we acknowledge your wisdom, patience, and empathy. These qualities have earned trust, not just personal trust, but the trust of the Sci-fi people in your species. Elias bowed respectfully. Your Majesty, it has been an honor to learn from your people. Humanity wishes to share knowledge, cooperation, and friendship. We hope to build a lasting relationship that benefits both our civilizations. The Queen gestured, and a long, crystalline table appeared at the center of the hall. Upon it were glowing spheres, representing treaties, agreements, and shared projects, everything from technology exchange to environmental cooperation. Elias approached carefully, examining each sphere. The technology was advanced, yet elegantly simple, designed to communicate clearly with anyone who touched it. This is the culmination of your mission, Thalira explained. By placing your hands upon these spheres, you acknowledge the understanding gained and the commitments made. This act symbolizes unity and trust between our peoples. Elias reached out, placing his hands gently on the spheres. As he did, a subtle vibration coursed through him, not unlike the hum of the palace itself. He could feel the thoughts of the Sci-fi Council members, curiosity, approval, and cautious optimism. When he focused, he sensed the broader intentions of the Queen herself, hope that humans might rise to meet the expectations of the galaxy. He closed his eyes, allowing understanding and respect to guide him. With that, the spheres glowed brighter, resonating with shared purpose. The Queen's gaze met his, and in that moment, a silent acknowledgement passed between them, a mutual recognition of commitment, respect, and potential. After the formalities, Thalira led Elias to a balcony overlooking Xylar Prime. The city below shimmered in twilight, towers glowing softly, floating vehicles moving in harmony, and citizens moving in patterns that reflected unity and purpose. Elias felt awe once again. This civilization had survived and thrived for millennia because of intelligence, empathy, and cooperation. And now, humanity had been welcomed into their circle of trust. Ambassador Kane, the Queen said softly, your species has much to learn, yet you have shown qualities that are rare even among the stars: creativity, adaptability, and moral courage. Through you, humans may demonstrate their worth to the galaxy. Remember this, respect, understanding, and empathy are the true measures of strength. Elias nodded, understanding the weight of her words. He realized that humans had often relied on technology, weapons, and ambition to survive. Yet it was character, courage, and thought that truly earned respect. The lessons of Xylar Prime would guide him and humanity in the years to come. Later, the Queen invited him to witness a private ceremony, one of reflection, music, and thought-sharing. In a chamber filled with soft light and floating crystalline instruments, Elias observed Sci-fi artists performing melodies that were not just sound, but emotion and history made tangible. He felt a connection to the Sci-fi people, understanding not only their intellect but their culture, emotion, and values. You see, Thalira said, our civilization thrives because we harmonize thought, emotion, and action. Humans are young among the stars, yet you have the potential to rise if you embrace these principles. Elias replied, Your Majesty, I will carry these lessons back to Earth. Humans may be inexperienced in many ways, but we have shown resilience, creativity, and a desire to understand. With guidance, patience, and opportunity, we can grow to meet the standards of the galaxy's civilizations. The Queen regarded him thoughtfully, wings fluttering softly. Perhaps, Ambassador Kane, perhaps indeed, today marks a beginning, not an end. Through mutual understanding, humans may find a place not only among respected civilizations, but as partners, collaborators, and friends. The final act of the day was a public acknowledgement. Elias stood before the Scifi Council and citizens, receiving a ceremonial gesture of honor from Queen Thalira. It was not a personal reward, but a symbol of alliance, trust, and recognition. Citizens observed closely, their energy vibrating subtly in approval. Elias felt the weight of responsibility, knowing that the image of humanity he projected today could influence interstellar perceptions for generations. As the ceremony concluded, he spoke briefly. People of Xylar Prime, I am grateful for your trust and guidance. Humanity seeks friendship, understanding, and cooperation. We are committed to learning, growing, and contributing as partners in a shared future. A wave of acknowledgement rippled through the chamber. Elias sensed respect, curiosity, and hope radiating from the Scifi citizens. This was a moment not only of diplomacy, but of recognition. Humans were no longer outsiders. They were seen as beings capable of thought, empathy, and contribution on a galactic scale. That evening, Elias returned to his chamber, reflecting on the journey. From the awe of the initial arrival to the honor of the Queen's trust, the trials of understanding, and the final acknowledgement, he had witnessed and participated in a civilization that balanced intellect, morality, and empathy in ways humans could only aspire to. He realized that the honor given to him was not about prestige, it was a responsibility. Humanity had been given a chance to rise, to demonstrate character, and to show that even a young species could earn respect among the stars. He felt a quiet determination to share these lessons with Earth, to inspire his people to grow not just in technology, but in understanding, empathy, and wisdom. As the twin moons of Xylar Prime rose in the sky, Elias looked toward the horizon. The city below shimmered, alive with thought, purpose, and unity. He felt a deep sense of hope for humanity's future, knowing that humans had taken the first steps toward recognition and respect in a galaxy that was vast, complex, and full of possibility. And somewhere high in the palace, Queen Thalira observed silently. She had witnessed a human rise to meet challenges unlike any other species had faced. She felt a cautious optimism, rare even for a ruler whose life spanned centuries. Perhaps humanity was ready, not only to survive among the stars, but to flourish, earning admiration and trust through courage, intellect, and understanding. Elias Kane, ambassador of Earth, had completed his mission, yet he knew that this was only the beginning. The bonds he had forged, the trust he had earned, and the lessons he had learned would shape humanity's future among the stars. As he prepared to depart Xylar Prime, he looked back one last time at the Queen and her city, a symbol of wisdom, strength, and harmony. Humanity had been tested, challenged, and seen, but it had also been honored. And for the first time, Elias felt a certainty that humans could rise to meet the universe, not through dominance or fear, but through courage, understanding, and the quiet power of intelligence and empathy. The journey of humanity had entered a new chapter, one of trust, respect, and shared purpose among the stars. And Ambassador Kane would carry that story home, ensuring that the human race would never forget what it meant to be recognized, valued, and trusted by one of the galaxy's most extraordinary civilizations. As the transport pod waited to take him home, Elias took a deep breath. The future was vast, unknown, and full of challenges, but humanity had earned a place at the table, and with courage, wisdom, and heart, they could rise to meet the stars. The twin suns of Xylar Prime bathed the city in their final morning light, reflecting off crystal towers, shimmering gardens, and the proud citizens below. It was a new dawn, not just for the planet, but for humanity itself.